I had just buried my wife when her phone buzzed with a message that made my blood run cold. Check the military Footlocker. Unit combination 0215 to 72. He can't know. I stood there in the February wind, staring at Linda's grave, wondering who the hell had sent this and why it felt like my world was about to fall apart. My name is Theodore Brennan, but everyone calls me Ted. I'm 70 years old, spent 40 years as principal at Millfield High School here in Ohio, and did my time in Vietnam back in 1970 to 1972. I thought I'd seen enough surprises for one lifetime. I was wrong. The message came from Linda's own phone number, which was impossible since I'd watched them lower her casket into the frozen ground 20 minutes earlier. My son Patrick stood next to me in his expensive suit, checking his watch like he had somewhere more important to be than his mother's funeral. At 44, he was everything I'd hoped he'd become. Harvard law degree, successful practice, nice house in the suburbs, but that message changed everything. See, Linda had died suddenly from a stroke 3 days earlier. 1 minute she was balancing the church committee books, the next minute she was gone. The doctors said it was quick, probably didn't feel any pain. Small comfort when you lose your partner of 45 years. Now this mysterious text was telling me to check my old military Footlocker, the one I kept in the basement with my Vietnam gear and service medals. I hadn't opened that thing in years. Linda always said it was my museum of ancient history. The combination in the message was my discharge date, February 15th, 1972. Only Linda knew those numbers mattered to me. I drove home from the cemetery with my granddaughter Sophie in the passenger seat. She's 11, Patrick's daughter, and the only good thing that came out of his marriage to Emma. The kid was quiet, probably trying to process losing her grandmother. I kept my mouth shut too, but my mind was racing. Back at the house, I waited until Patrick and Emma left with their sympathy casseroles and empty promises to check on me soon. Sophie was upstairs watching TV. The house felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I went down to the basement and found the Footlocker exactly where I'd left it 15 years ago, covered in dust and memories I preferred to keep buried. The combination lock clicked open on the first try. Inside, underneath my old uniforms and a purple heart I never talked about, was a manila envelope that definitely hadn't been there before. Written on it in Linda's careful handwriting for Ted. When you're ready to see the truth. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were bank statements, property deeds, email printouts, and a USB drive. All of it pointed to one conclusion that hit me like incoming artillery. My son Patrick had been stealing money from people in our community. A lot of money, $2.3 million, to be exact. But these weren't random victims. These were people I knew, former students, teaching colleagues, families from our church. Hell, there was documentation showing he'd taken $180,000 from Helen Thompson, the widow of my old teaching partner Bill, another $220,000 from Rick Anderson, who coached football with me for 15 years. Sarah Mills, who taught kindergarten for 30 years, had lost $150,000. Tom Wilson, our old janitor who'd saved every penny for retirement, was out $120,000. The remaining victims were a mix of former students and community members, 19 people total who'd lost smaller amounts ranging from $50,000 to $90,000 each. Patrick had been systematic about it, spreading the damage wide enough that no single loss would trigger immediate suspicion. Patrick's scam was sophisticated. He'd been selling fake agricultural investment partnerships, telling people they were buying into corn and soybean processing plants that would provide steady retirement income. He used my reputation as collateral, telling investors they could trust him because Principal Brennan's son would never steer them wrong. The kid had weaponized my 40 years of community service to rob people blind. I sat there on an old wooden crate, reading through Linda's investigation files until 2 a.m. She'd been tracking this for 18 months, documenting everything with the patience of a woman who'd spent decades grading homework. She even had recordings of phone calls where Patrick bragged about how easy it was to manipulate old-timers who still believed in handshake deals. The USB drive contained video files of Linda sitting at her computer, explaining everything she'd discovered. She looked tired and sick, probably already showing signs of the stroke that would kill her. But her voice was steady as steel. Ted, by the time you see this, I'll be gone and you'll have to decide what kind of man you really are. Our son is a thief and a liar. He's destroying the lives of people who trusted us, who believed in the values we tried to teach him. You can protect him, or you can protect them, but you can't do both. I turned off the video and stared at the basement wall for a long time. Outside, I could hear the February wind rattling the windows like it was trying to get in and finish the job. The next morning, Patrick showed up with coffee and donuts, playing the concerned son role. He asked a few too many questions about what Mom might have left behind in her papers. Real casual, like he was just making conversation. But I'd interrogated enough teenage troublemakers to recognize a fishing expedition. Nothing important, I told him. Just old recipes and photo albums. He relaxed visibly, which told me everything I needed to know. Patrick was scared Mom had discovered something, he just didn't know how much. "You sure you're okay staying here alone, Dad? Emma thinks maybe you should come stay with us for a while, until you get your bearings." I almost laughed. Get my bearings? Like I was some confused old man who couldn't tie his own shoes. "I'm fine, son. Been taking care of myself since before you were born." After he left, I spent the day going through Linda's files more carefully. She'd organized everything like a military operation. Each victim had their own folder with copies of contracts, bank transfers, and correspondence. She'd even tracked down the fake business licenses Patrick had used to make his agricultural partnerships look legitimate. The scope of it was staggering. This wasn't some guy who got in over his head trying to make a quick buck. This was systematic fraud planned and executed over 2 years with military precision. My son had studied our community like a general studies a battlefield, identifying the most vulnerable targets and the most effective attack strategies. What really got to me was reading the victim statements Linda had collected. Helen Thompson wrote about having to move in with her daughter because she couldn't afford her mortgage anymore. Rick Anderson described the humiliation of taking a part-time job at 69 years old bagging groceries to pay for his heart medication. These weren't wealthy investors looking for get-rich-quick schemes. These were working-class folks who'd saved every penny for decades, trusting a local boy who carried my name and reputation. I knew I had to act, but I also knew Patrick would lawyer up the minute he suspected trouble. So I called Jennifer Morrison, who graduated from Millfield High in 1998, and now works for the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit in Cleveland. Smart kid, always was. She'd sent me a Christmas card every year for 22 years, Mr. Brennan, she said when I reached her office. I was so sorry to hear about Mrs. Brennan. She was my favorite teacher. "How are you holding up, Jen? I need your help with something. It's about my son." The conversation that followed was the hardest 30 minutes of my life. But Jennifer listened without judgment, took detailed notes, and asked the kind of specific questions that told me she understood the magnitude of what I was describing. "Mr. Brennan, I have to ask, are you prepared for where this might lead? If Patrick is really running a Ponzi scheme at this scale, we're talking about federal charges, prison time. Your granddaughter's going to lose her father. Jen, 23 families have already lost their futures. One more family losing theirs might be the price of justice." She was quiet for a moment then. "Mrs. Brennan actually contacted our office 8 months ago. She sent us some preliminary information but said she needed more time to build a complete case. We were waiting for her to get back in touch when we heard about her passing. That hit me like a punch to the gut. Linda had been working with the FBI for months, building a case against our own son while I sat in my easy chair watching the evening news, completely oblivious to the war being fought upstairs. "What you've given us today fills in the missing pieces," Jennifer continued. "We've been watching Patrick's firm for 6 months, but we needed the victim statements and financial documentation your wife collected. Without her work, we never would have been able to prove the full scope of the fraud." 2 days later, Jennifer called back with an update that made my blood run cold. "Mr. Brennan, Patrick's been moving money offshore faster than we anticipated. We need to move now, or he's going to disappear with whatever assets he hasn't already hidden." The FBI raid happened on a Tuesday morning at 8:15 a.m. I drove downtown and parked across the street from Patrick's office building, watching from my car as federal agents carried boxes of evidence out the front door. His law partner, a guy named Marcus Webb, was in handcuffs within an hour. According to Jennifer, Webb started talking the minute they read him his rights, claiming he knew nothing about the investment scheme and thought Patrick was handling legitimate real estate deals. Patrick called me that afternoon, and I've never heard him sound so desperate. "Dad, you need to help me. The FBI is saying I stole money, but it's all a misunderstanding. These were legitimate investments that went bad. I never meant for anyone to get hurt." "Patrick, I've seen the documents. I know what you did." The silence on the other end of the line stretched for what felt like forever. When he finally spoke, his voice had changed completely. The panic was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating that I didn't recognize. "You did this. You turned them against me. No, son. You did this when you decided to steal from people who trusted our family. These people are nothing, Dad. They're old and they're going to die soon anyway. What's the point of them hoarding money they'll never spend? I was putting it to better use. That's when I knew for certain that the boy I'd raised was gone. The Patrick I'd taught to ride a bike and helped with homework every night for 12 years had been replaced by a stranger who saw human beings as balance sheets and retirement funds as personal shopping accounts. You raised me to look out for family, he said, his voice rising. Where's that loyalty now? You're destroying Sophie's future. You're destroying Emma's life. All for what? A bunch of old people who don't have long left anyway. I raised you to tell the truth and protect people who can't protect themselves, I replied. Somewhere along the way, you forgot those lessons. He hung up on me. That was the last conversation I had with my son as a free man. Over the next week, I quietly reached out to some of the victims whose names were in Linda's files. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, calling people I'd known for decades to confirm that my son had destroyed their lives. Helen Thompson broke down crying when I mentioned Patrick's investment company. She'd been too ashamed to tell anyone about losing her retirement money, thinking people would blame her for being naive. I trusted him because he was your boy, Ted. I figured if Principal Brennan's son recommended something, it had to be safe. Rick Anderson was angrier than I'd ever seen him. We'd coached together for 15 years, and he'd never raised his voice at a referee, let alone a friend. But when I called to apologize for what Patrick had done, he let me have it with both barrels. You want to know what your precious son told me when I asked about getting my money back last month? He said market fluctuations were normal and I needed to be patient. Patient while I'm taking blood pressure pills every other day, because I can't afford the full prescription. Sarah Mills was the worst. She was 73 years old, had taught kindergarten for 30 years, and now she was living on Social Security and food stamps because Patrick had convinced her to cash out her teacher's retirement early to invest in his fake agricultural fund. I keep thinking about all those children I taught, she told me, her voice barely a whisper. How I used to tell them that honesty and hard work would be rewarded. How do I face them now, knowing I was naive enough to believe that myself? Each conversation was like taking a bullet to the chest. These weren't just victims of financial fraud. They were people whose faith in basic human decency had been shattered by someone carrying my name. The legal process moved faster than I expected. Patrick's high-priced defense attorney from Columbus tried to get the charges dismissed on technicalities, but Jennifer Morrison and the prosecution team had built an airtight case using Linda's documentation. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified for the prosecution on a Thursday morning that felt like the longest day of my life. Sitting in that witness chair, looking at my son across the courtroom, was like watching a stranger wearing Patrick's face. His defense attorney tried to paint him as a well-meaning businessman who got in over his head, but the evidence was overwhelming. The prosecution presented bank records showing systematic transfers to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. They had emails where Patrick bragged to his business partner about manipulating gullible old-timers. They even had a recording of a phone call where he described his victims as walking ATM machines who were too trusting for their own good. The jury convicted him on 23 counts of wire fraud, 15 counts of money laundering, and 8 counts of elder abuse. The judge gave him 7 years in federal prison and ordered full restitution to the victims. But here's the thing about justice, it doesn't undo the damage. Even with Patrick's assets seized and his accounts frozen, the government could only recover about $1.5 million of the stolen money. That left a shortfall of $800,000 that 23 families would never see again. That's where Linda's final gift came in. Hidden in that footlocker, underneath a stack of my old Army commendation letters, was a life insurance policy she'd taken out 10 years earlier. The beneficiary wasn't me. It was a trust fund specifically designed to help fraud victims. She'd been planning for this day for longer than I realized. The insurance money covered $400,000 of the shortfall, but there was still $400,000 missing. That's when I made a decision that some people called heroic and others called foolish. I sold our house, the place where Linda and I had lived for 35 years, where we'd raised Patrick and hosted Christmas dinners and watched our granddaughter take her first steps. The house that held every memory of our life together. I listed it on a Tuesday and had 3 offers by Friday. The real estate market in our part of Ohio had been hot for 2 years, and our place was in a neighborhood that young families wanted. I accepted an offer for $420,000, which was exactly what I needed to cover the remaining restitution. Emma, Patrick's wife, called me the day before the closing. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "How could you do this to us, Ted? That house was supposed to be Sophie's inheritance. That was her college fund, her future. You're punishing her for something her father did." Emma, 23 families lost their futures because of what Patrick did. One more family losing a house might be the price of making things right. You chose strangers over your own blood. No, Emma, I chose what Linda would have wanted. I chose what was right. The closing happened on a cold March morning. I signed the papers with a pen that felt like it weighed 50 pounds, transferring ownership of every memory Linda and I had built together to a young couple with twin toddlers who would fill those rooms with new laughter. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment near the school where I'd worked for 40 years. It had a kitchenette, a small living room, and a window that looked out on the playground where I used to stand during lunch duty, watching kids play and thinking about what kind of adults they'd become. The apartment felt empty at first, but it also felt clean. Like I'd finally washed off something dirty that had been sticking to me since the day I found Linda's files. Sophie was the hardest part. At 12 now, she was old enough to understand that her father was in prison and her grandfather had put him there. Emma had moved back to her parents' place in Michigan and didn't return my calls anymore. For 6 months, I thought I'd lost my granddaughter forever. But Sophie surprised me. She started sending letters to my apartment, written in her careful 7th grade handwriting on notebook paper with torn edges. The first one came in September, 6 months after I'd moved out of the house. "Dear Grandpa Ted," it read, "Mom says you chose strangers over family. But I think you chose what Grandma Linda would have wanted. She always told me that lying was the worst thing you could do, and stealing was just lying with money." That kid got it. She understood something that adults twice her age couldn't grasp. That sometimes love means holding people accountable for their actions, even when it breaks your heart. Her letters kept coming, once a month like clockwork. She told me about school, about her friends, about missing her dad, but understanding why he had to go away. In one letter she wrote, "I'm proud that my grandpa is the kind of person who does the right thing even when it's hard. That's what heroes do in movies, heroes." If only she knew how scared I was every single day, wondering if I'd made the right choice. The community response was mixed. Some folks thought I was a hero for sacrificing everything to make the victims whole. Others whispered that I'd gone too far, that blood should be thicker than water no matter what. The school board held a ceremony in my honor, establishing the Linda Brennan Memorial Scholarship for students pursuing education degrees. But I also lost friends who thought I should have protected Patrick, regardless of what he'd done. I started volunteering at the community center, helping seniors understand financial scams and investment fraud. I used Patrick's case as a teaching tool, showing people how predators exploit trust and family connections. It wasn't easy talking about my son's crimes to rooms full of elderly folks, but it felt like penance for my failure to see what he was becoming. The work gave me purpose. Every month, I'd get calls from people who'd almost fallen for scams similar to Patrick's scheme. They'd remember my presentation about red flags and warning signs, and they'd call before signing anything. In the first year alone, we prevented over $500,000 in losses to other would-be victims. Sometimes former students stopped by to thank me. They said I'd shown courage when it mattered most, that I'd proven the values I'd tried to teach them weren't just classroom theory. I appreciated the sentiment, but the truth was simpler. I'd kept a promise I made 40 years ago when I became a principal. I swore to protect the kids and families in my community. Patrick was my son, but he was also a threat to people I'd spent a lifetime serving. When those two loyalties collided, I chose the greater good over personal comfort. Linda would have done the same thing. I got one letter from Patrick during his 2nd year in prison. He wrote that he'd been attending a financial ethics program and wanted to apologize for what he'd done to our family and the community. He said he understood why I'd testified against him, and he hoped someday we could rebuild our relationship. I wrote back once. I told him I'd always love him, but love without accountability isn't really love at all. I said that when he got out, if he wanted to be part of Sophie's life again, he'd need to prove he'd learned something more than just how not to get caught. He never wrote back. Maybe that was for the best. The victims, though, they kept in touch. Helen Thompson sent me Christmas cards every year with updates about her new apartment and her part-time job at the library. Rick Anderson invited me to his grandson's high school graduation. Sarah Mills started volunteering at the community center with me, helping other seniors protect themselves from fraud. These connections felt more valuable than anything I'd lost. They were built on shared struggle and mutual respect, not blood relations or family obligations. On quiet Sunday mornings, I visit Linda's grave and tell her about Sophie's letters, about the families whose lives we saved, about the small apartment that somehow feels more like home than the big house ever did. The headstone is simple granite with her name and the years of her life, but underneath I had them carve a line from one of her letters. The truth will set you free, but first it will break your heart. Sometimes, when the wind is just right and the cemetery is quiet, I swear I can hear her voice telling me I made the right choice. That's enough validation for me. The money's gone. The house is gone. My son probably hates me, and I may never see my granddaughter grow up in person. But I can look at myself in the mirror every morning and know I kept faith with the values Linda and I spent a lifetime defending. Sophie's latest letter included a photo of her at 13, wearing my old Millfield High School sweatshirt that somehow found its way to Michigan. On the back, she'd written, "Still proud to be a Brennan." That's a legacy I can live with, you know. If this story teaches you anything, I hope it's this. Family loyalty isn't about protecting people from the consequences of their actions. Real loyalty sometimes means stepping aside and letting justice take its course, even when justice breaks your heart. I spent 40 years teaching kids that character matters more than comfort, that doing right matters more than being liked. When my own son forgot those lessons, I had to decide whether I believed what I'd been teaching, or whether it was all just pretty words for other people's children. The choice wasn't really that hard once I understood the stakes. 23 families deserved their dignity back more than one family deserved to avoid embarrassment. Sometimes the math of morality is that simple, even when the emotional cost is staggering. If someone you love is hurting innocent people, you have two choices: enable them or stop them. There's no middle ground that preserves everyone's comfort. I chose to stop him, and I'd make the same choice again tomorrow, knowing what it cost me. That's what real love looks like sometimes: hard, painful, and absolutely necessary.